And good morning, you're flying the very unfriendly skies with Tironan. And today we have the J7W1. I guess it's my day for flying aircraft I don't particularly like that much. And part of the reason is its lack of altitude, which is horrible. No, my guns didn't turn into super BBs all of a sudden. It's just a matter of I was actually had already been damaged by bombs. I am not hitting the aircraft, or the anti-aircraft, for a reason, which is I want them to chew up those RB-17s, which we don't have. I can't reach. And I have 65 seconds before I get my second pair of bombs. Alright, that's done. We can move on in. The aircraft is basically has a P-51 turning circle, ferocious guns at 800 DPS, which for this tier is phenomenal. But they're very short ranged. And is an aircraft that does not have a whole lot of altitude capability at all. I mean, pathetically. And those who have seen my videos on this in the past don't have any trouble figuring it out. This aircraft was designed as an interceptor. High speed and high altitude are a requirement for interceptors, and they do not have it. Turning capability, maybe not so much. Now, if you allow one of these to get behind you and think you're going to survive a few seconds with it, and you're hitting with it, which I am not. Okay, I have an aircraft behind me. Let's get out of his way. You can always tell when you get on target because the target disappears. Alright. But what it does excel at, more than anything else, is its ability to deliver massive amounts of damage to bombers and to ground attack aircraft. Again, we'll hit our flaps. Now, when you hit an aircraft that has some 2,000 hit points and you start seeing its bar go down that quickly, you have an idea just how much firepower this thing actually packs. And provided you get good with the guns,
step it up. We're losing the battle.
that's the end of that attack. I still can't do anything about the bombers. I haven't got the altitude capability of getting up there, unfortunately. I do not believe. Well, maybe. Let's go ahead and try it, just because I'm frustrated as much as anything else. If nothing else, it'll show what I'm talking about here. And I'm at a mere 5,000 feet, and I'm rapidly running out of gas here. Okay. Want to make sure that I don't have another ground attack aircraft sneaking in on me, which I do not.
Unable to reach you. Do you read me? Over.
There is another ground attack aircraft down here, and I am not seeing him. There you are. Conrad. Let's go ahead and hit the air brakes. Slow down here a little bit.
You any longer. Storm is too heavy. Do you copy? Over. Turn back.
You know, there's sometimes when you think that you've done everything you can do and you still lose, and this is one of them. Let's go back to the hangar. Okay, we destroyed 6,000 or six aerial targets. Getting ahead of myself there. Assisted in destroying 2 more. Damage to aerial targets. You'll notice that's a very large number because I was killing ground attack aircraft more than anything else. Also got a couple of fighters there, or chunks of fighters apparently. And Heberman and his IL-10 did a great job. I don't know if I shot him down or not, but I don't think I did. Hope I didn't. Okay. But this shows both the strengths and liabilities of the aircraft very well, which is why I'm going to include it. Despite the fact it was a loss, I don't think that I did much to contribute to the loss, but we certainly didn't do a good job beyond that. And the aircraft limitations are part of it. So when we look at the upgrades on this, couple of problems with it. It's not that quick of an aircraft. It's right at altitude performance is right at 46, which for an interceptor, you've heard me rant on this before, I won't go too much farther on this. I'd expect this to be 82. Speed is 553, and that is partially my fault. I'm going to unmount those because it's an aircraft that doesn't need that. First off, 2 500-pound bombs are going to contribute next to nothing in the ground attack role. I'm sorry, they just don't. I mean, you can pick off the occasional, leftovers by somebody else, but at this tier, you're not contributing anything in that regard. And it's a slow enough aircraft that needs all the help it can get. You can see my loadout here, which is the lightweight airframe and the control surface adjustments and the aircraft polish. If I had it to do over again, I probably would have gone with instead of the control surface adjustments, would have gone with Engine Guru or the engine upgrade. And I don't know what I have here. I would have gone with the Engine Tuning 3. Obviously, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money on a fighter that is on the extinction path to the next upgrade. Got about 94,000 points to go on this aircraft before we go to the next aircraft, which I'm sorry to say is more the same. You're right at 5,000 feet of altitude, even with the upgrades. I'll tell you at Tier 9, 528 is the lowest tier that you will find in speed. And its average turn time is pretty bad. So as a multi-role fighter, you've got to understand that it is an extremely maneuverable multi-role fighter. But my problem here, if I was to make a comment on, and I am obviously, when you start looking at the Japanese aircraft, is you already have a slow fighter here. Okay. When you get to the maximum upgrade on this, you're looking at 534. So back to the tech tree. And I am not really seeing see if we can get it, any difference. All right, so you've got two fighters in the same nationality, and you have nothing that shines as a high altitude, high speed fighter. I mean, it's just shut off here. So you're handing the player the same experience. Again, we'll take a look at this. KI-1. It's a little more turny, barely. And when you don't get me wrong, this is a fairly decent fighter, but it's slow. And it's low altitude. 6,200 feet is not, is not as bad as the other one. But, so that's my problem with the Japanese line. And if I was to make a plea to World of Wargames, it would be, would you please take a look at your Japanese fighter line? Do something for the player. I understand these are made-up aircraft. This one actually flew, but it flew twice, and we know next to nothing about it, really. As the successors with engines that were never installed, we know even less. But the guns, while spectacular at taking down bombers and ground attack aircraft, and they're okay against fighters. Obviously, you saw me shoot down a couple of fighters with it, but it's not exactly what you'd call a real dogfighting weapon. So whether you do it with this or you come up with another plane, I don't know what you do here, but you need to give the player on the Japanese line something besides low and slow and with decent weapons. And maybe I'm just spoiled by the U.S. line, but you get to the U.S. fighters or the German fighters or the British fighters, you start seeing some pretty spectacular armament. And while these hit very hard, they're very archy, and they're hard to use in a dogfight. So that's the downside of the plane. The good side is it will kill ground attack and bombers, and can absolutely control an area where it's low and slow worked well. The turn, burn, low altitude stuff where high speed fighters have a hard time getting in and out. This is a great aircraft. When you want to knock down ground attack aircraft, or you can get behind or in front of bombers, this is a great aircraft. But it has no ability to dominate the upper area. It doesn't have the speed or the altitude. and so it limits its range for you very severely. So for what it's worth, there you go. All right. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. I want to thank you. Please remember to like the video and to subscribe. And you've been flying the Varian from the skies with Tironan. We'll see you tomorrow.